Hello everybody. Today we're going to be checking out my new preset pack for Serum called Forest Psy. So here we've got a very short demo track I've made for it, so let's have a listen. So everything in there, apart from the drums, everything else is just sounds from the pack. No processing, maybe some delay or something, but no processing, just all straight out of Serum. Okay, so I hope you've got an idea of what's in the pack there. Let's just go through some of the patches now as well. I won't go through all of them. I'll just go through some of my favourites. Here we got one called Ash Mountain. So yeah, we'll go through the atmosphere patches first. We've got one called Captive Shadows. All of the presets have at least some macro control, so let's just turn off the macro one I've got there. So yeah, this one's just totally atonal and just you can play any sort of pitch you want depending on the vibe you're trying to get. And it just gives that kind of drone type of sound. Let's go Event Horizon. This one's quite sort of cinematic type of sound. You get quite a bit of control over the way this actually sounds. So yeah, quite sort of cinematic, kind of creepy type of sound. Then we've got my personal favourite. So this one's really cool because every time you press a note, even if it's the same note, it will sound a little bit different because of the way the unison stacks up. So for the moment, let's just turn the gate off as well. So yeah, that sort of creepy atmosphere. You can also get plucks instead if you like. Sort of weird bell type things. But yeah, the drone is definitely my favourite part of it. Kind of glassy, metallic, weird, inharmonic stuff. Okay, cool. So that's just a couple of the Atmos patches. Pop over to the basses. Well, actually, let's grab the kick first and we'll just build something so you can hear these in context. We've got 2 kicks in here. One called R kick and one called Dark kick. We'll go with R kick. This one's a little bit darker, sort of woody-esque transient type of thing. So let's just grab MIDI region and have a listen to this. Okay, so we've got a fair bit of control over the kick. It's envelope and everything with the macros and the mod wheel. Quite a lot of the presets also have mod wheel as well as the macros. And we can just set this to be whatever pitch we want and it will key track. So it'll play the pitch that it says on the piano roll. And also will track the length of the note, but it will stop after a certain point. But yeah, that way you can have nice fat long tails, or you can have the sort of short, more kind of techie, I suppose, kicks. Let's just say we're happy with that. Now let's get bassline to go with it. Okay, so there's a fair few bass presets. This is one of my favourite ones. It doesn't use a filter at all. It's just an additive bassline. So I've taken an additive saw pluck from another synth, imported it here, so we don't get any artifacts in pitch from the filtering. Let's give these first notes a little bit of less velocity. Okay, so most of the basses have the same macros. We can control the mod depth. We can control how long the decay of our envelope is, how high or low the sustain is, and we can also change how exponential or linear the curve of our envelope is. So let's let this play through and have a play with the macros. Okay, and on some of these bass presets, we can also control the hold phase of the envelope using the mod wheel. So what this does, it can kind of add that bite, the sort of weird smeary transient that you get in some darker styles. So I'll have a play with that so you can hear what that sounds like. Definitely makes the transient feel a bit more powerful. So let's have some of that. So yeah, sounds decent straight out of the synth. You can just do minimal processing to it and it'll certainly do the job. Okay, let's have a look at making a bass in a higher key. Let's take one of these other basses. Let's go with this one. Again, straight out of the synth, we've got a nice sounding bass. Or a usable bass. Let's make a really low one. Let's go down to like C, or yeah, let's go C. This particular one called bass. This one does the really low basses quite nicely. Nice sort of chunky roundness for the really, really low stuff. Okay, so yeah, there's quite a few basses in there, all with different texture to them. Certain ones better for higher basses, certain ones better for lower basses. All depends on the style you're going for. Okay, so let's leave that there and go and get some more sounds. Okay, so in the bonus section, we've got our kicks. We've got a couple of weird patches, but then also we have this thing called Wave Machine, which is worth checking out. You just feed it notes. Let's get something that just feed it some MIDI. So it does sound actually quite cool. Quite cool as a element in your track. But actually the purpose of it is just so you can record this and take what you've recorded, chuck that into the synth that you like. I would use Vital for this, and then save that as a wavetable, and you get loads of really crazy textures for your leads or whatever you want to make with it. Okay. So let's carry on. We've got a whole section called Flow Elements, which I'll get onto in a moment. Let's have a look at the leads. I'll just play through some of these leads so you can get an idea of them. So, a fair few of these presets as well, kind of multi-timbral, in that at the moment this sounds like you just heard, but we can actually change it to sound completely different. So let's have a look what it can do. Okay, and also it's worth checking on lots of these presets, having the cutoff or certain macros all the way down will do something different to the rest of the macro, and also all the way up might do something different too. So if you shut it all the way down, it just turns off the filter. Okay, move on to the next one. Let's just skip through some of these. So on this particular one, if we set the cutoff all the way up to the top, it turns on velocity control, and if we set it all the way at the bottom, it just turns the filter off. So actually, there's kind of lots of different sounds some of these leads can make. So rather than split it into loads of different presets, I've just chucked them all together. This is one of my personal favorites. So yeah, we've got a vast variety of flavors in that. We've also got this pitch bend control, so we can say whether we want it to pitch bend as it goes or not. so that's some of the lead sounds. Many more than the ones you just heard. Okay, so then we've got the FX. Here we've got one called Bubble in Paradise. Now, this one, because of the limitations of how Serum works, you may have to drop this down an octave lower than the rest of the patches. Let's just do that and have a listen. Because if I turn off the pitch modifier here, you'll hear that it kind of changes the character of it. So this has a resonator, like a comb filter acting as a resonator in it, and that's tracking the pitch. As it says here, note controls resonator. So sort of kind of interesting, bubbly, water dropletty type sound. Skip through some of these. This is a nice weird squelch we've got. Okay, so that was some of the FX sounds. Now, if we move over to the flow elements. So most of the flow elements have the same macros set up on them. So the idea is you have loads of these flow elements sort of flowing into each other, so one after another, or playing at the same time, and you attach all of their macros if you have a MIDI controller, connect it to your MIDI controller, and then you'll be able to control all of them with the same control across all of them. So, for instance, pretty much all of them have this sustain mode. So, when that's down low, it just makes really short notes, whereas when that's up high, it can make sustain notes. So, as an example, you could have all these sounds one after another, and you're making all of them have shorter and longer notes just using a macro, or making them all become really heavily delayed, or whatever it is, depending on the macros they have. So it kind of helps for Forest production, because it allows them to really melt into each other and feel like a constant flow of sounds. So I'll just go through some of those. And also make sure to try out the mod wheel as well, because lots of these presets have mod wheel built into them. If we just use a bit of delay after this, instantly makes it sound more foresty, so let's do that. So that's a quick look at the pack. Hopefully you guys will enjoy using it just as much as I've enjoyed making it. And otherwise, see you next time, guys.